Positive weekend for our team down in Ruston. It's always a tough road trip just logistically, and heading to Ruston, and 2 matches we thought we should be in control of, and we were for the most part. It was good to see us do some things a little more consistently. I knock on wood, I think we're starting to get close to healthy. I thought it was the best that Izzy Vanderweely has looked in maybe since preseason, and so I'm excited to see us kind of moving in a positive direction there. And 2 straight road weekends, you get 4 wins, you're happy, you're coming home, and now we get to be at home for a couple weekends, starting with Sam Houston this week, and looking forward to hopefully continuing to get more healthy and getting closer to being what we've set out to be this year.
It's kind of the first thing I was going to go into. How nice is it to get into a routine for a couple of weeks at home, practices, not have to worry about travel?
Yeah, it'll be nice. It'll be nice to be home. It's hard to believe we only have, after that last ball dropped in Ruston, we only have 10 games left. And, it's been a hard season, but it's gone by pretty quickly, if you ask me. And we're already down to our last 10, and to have we have 6 of those 10 here, at home, and 4 in a row. It'll be good to be home. When you get this deep into season, everybody's starting to wear down a little bit, and the travel of this league does a lot to you, and so it'll be good to get our legs under us, and again have another. Usually this late in the year, you're starting to scale back practice-wise, and I'm still really, really grateful for the practice time, because we need it with our youth and our, everything we've gone through. And so I'm looking forward to another full week here in Diddle without having to get on a plane or a bus or something to head out again this weekend.
You talked about, I think it was 2 weeks ago or maybe last week, about how you want to see more consistency offensively. Mm-hmm. You saw that this week, and I think you guys had your best hitting percentage over 500 in that second match. What did you see from your team as they kind of start to find a rhythm?
Yeah, we're just. Again, I hate to say it out loud, I really do, but we're starting to get closer to being healthy. You're starting to see a lineup that repeats itself a little bit. We were able to get Kyra Knox on the floor this weekend in a very limited role. This will be her first week of practice this week where she's as tolerated. So she's getting close, to being back. And so I even threw her in a couple matches down there in the back row just to let her feel it again and kind of get those butterflies out, if you will. And but otherwise we've our as simplistic as it sounds, we started the same lineup for 2 matches in a row down there, and just a little bit of that consistency can go a long way. And offensively, I was looking at our offensive numbers this morning, and all of a sudden offensively we're starting to play really, really well, and hopefully that continues.
In that first match, service aces, great. I know there was one on Saturday. Talk about the difference there. Did you kind of like the progression you saw from that?
Yeah, I like where we're headed offensively. I like what we do for the most part defensively. Serving has been the thing that I've been the most disappointed in with our season on the year. As you alluded to, it's just been very sporadic. We'll have a match where we're really good and then a match where we're not so good. And, we haven't gotten to the level that I want to get to. And that'll show up in these big matches we have moving forward. Like we said, we have 10 left, and we have 2 really important ones against UTEP here next week, and then Liberty is looming at the end of the year, who's also having a fantastic year. I think they're 15-3 or something like that. And when you get into those kind of matchups, little things like serving become bigger and bigger. And so it's something we work on every day. It's something we have to continue to get better at if we're going to be who I want to be by the end.
Through these injuries and everything, you've kind of relied a little more on your defense traditionally, but now that offense is starting to come together and maybe form with that defense, as a coach, you've got to feel pretty good if you can get to all.
It would be a really nice why. I've asked myself why have we dealt with so much this year, and it sure would be nice at the end, because at the beginning of the year I said I want to defend like we're not a very good offensive team. I want to have urgency in terms of defending. Well, for a big part of the year, we've been very up and down offensively, and we've had to defend at a high level. And so that's the hope, man. The hope is that by the end of the year we can continue to defend at a high level, but really start to elevate ourselves offensively, and become who we thought we could be. You know, we haven't, again, we haven't put our true starting lineup we've put on the court, I think, once or twice all year. And so we know we have offensive talent there. We know, Callie Bauer and Kate Rush have kind of played so many different roles in terms of trying to set our team. And, this weekend we settled back in with Callie in a 5-1, and I think that was good for us. And so, we're still searching here a little bit, but we have all the pieces, and you hope that by the end of the year, here we can put them all together. And, I just, in our staff meeting, I just reminded our team, our coaches, that we're 15-4 on the year, because to us as a staff, it doesn't feel like it, because we just, every week has been just trying to get creative and finding a way to win the 2 that weekend and get to the next week. And so, hopefully our job gets a little easier as we get healthier here at the end.
What have you seen from Sam Houston? What do you kind of?
Yeah, Sam Houston, interesting. So much respect for the program and the coach. It's, that's probably the storyline of the weekend. I'm the rookie coach when it comes to this matchup. She has been at Sam Houston for over 40 years. And so, I may have to pick her brain a little bit about what it's like to coach, because I've only been doing this 31. So, she's a legend in the sport, and, her team every year, does a really good job every year of just kind of looking at her roster and figuring out what they have to do because every time I see a Sam Houston team, they look a little different to me, because she's so creative in finding ways of figuring out their roster and what their roster gives them every year, and then figures out how to be competitive, doing it. And they're pretty young this year like we are, and so they've had their ups and downs, but always a tremendously competitive group. And I think that'll make for 2 really good matchups.
What kind of different challenge is it? Obviously you've got Sam Houston this upcoming weekend, UTEP following, but they're very different teams. But the Sam Houston team is still on the hunt for their first win. Is it almost, how does that pose a challenge differently than taking on UTEP? You know what you're playing.
Yeah, typically, I think it would be a bigger challenge than it is this year, because this deep into the season, I find myself, usually by this point in the season, on a Monday, I'm coming in and I'm really breaking down our opponent for that weekend, and we spend all week preparing for them. Incredibly, this late in the season, I'm still coming in on Monday with a list of things that I want our team to be better at. And that is unusual. I think it has to do with our youth this year for sure. I think it has to do with our injuries this year for sure, because we still have a list of things that it doesn't matter how much preparation we do for whoever we're playing. If we don't get these things corrected, it's still going to be, a way that we can lose. And so this year, not as much. Like the opponent we're playing still, I haven't gotten to the point where the opponent we're playing is my top priority going into the weekend, and that is incredibly unusual this late in the year. This late in the year, you kind of are who you are, and you're trying to tweak yourself again, depending on who you're playing. And but this year, we go into this week. Hopefully, this is a week that Kyra Knox is back in the gym fully. And if that's the case, she hadn't played in a month, and now we have to get her integrated and get back into doing things there. And now we shift Kendall Miller back to her original position. And it's just that year. And so we're still very, very dominated by us in terms of trying to be a good version of us and hoping that it's good enough on Friday and Saturday.
How are the players feeling mentally? You talked about how, you're almost to that point where you're healthy. Do they feel a little bit of the excitement of hey, we're almost on the verge of putting all this together? Well,
I hope so. I told them, Friday, I didn't like how we finished the match on Friday. I think it was 26-24 in the third set down there. And, I just told our team, again, on an individual basis, we've got to be more accountable to showing up and being a high-level version of ourselves. And really challenged them on Friday night. And Saturday, I thought, was one of our most complete performances in a while. But when I walked in the locker room afterwards, I said to the team, I was like, look, this could be the start. we played really well today. A lot of people individually played really well today. We're hoping to get Kyron Knox back this week. Like, this could be the start of that stretch, where we really get going. Or maybe it won't, because what this team has been all year is a team that has a couple matches where you're like, okay, here they go. And then we have one where it's just, we're hanging on for dear life out there. And, part of that is youth, and part of that is just, but, it's like I told them all, like, if you remember, I didn't buy the youth thing back in preseason. I was not willing to accept the youth thing back in preseason. And as I told them Saturday down in Ruston, look, you've all got 20 college volleyball matches under your belt now. Like, we need to let go of the, well, I'm still young, kind of thing. And so, but this is a moment that certainly we could put our foot in the ground and take off if we can go string two together this weekend. But that's the challenge. Can we play two that we feel really good about? Because we've found a way to win most nights. Like I said, we're 15-4 and still getting votes for the top 25. We receive votes in every single poll all season in what has felt like just hanging on for dear life situation. And so hopefully this is a weekend where we can put our foot in the ground and feel good about the two performances we put out there, because it's always been process driven by me more than result driven. And I haven't, quite frankly, felt great about our process for a lot of the year. I don't feel like we've consistently been doing the things that our teams typically do. And so hopefully, we put our foot in the ground on Saturday in Ruston and played really well, and we can keep that going this weekend, but time will tell.
Like you said, you're 15-4, you have to remind your players, your coaches, and you're still not at your best potential. How much is that a testament to how tough they are and just
Well, we've just hung in there, and we have a winning culture. There's no doubt. This is not a season with what we faced. This is not a season where any team should be 15-4, to be honest. It's just a testament to the kids' resiliency and again, the expectation level of our program. Like, when you hear the things that I say in here every Monday in these press conferences, you would think we were 6-12 on the year, and so many teams are that deal with the things that we've dealt with. But so the resiliency has been incredible, and I'm really, really proud, of the fact that we've found a way to survive what has been a really difficult season with such a young team. And you just hope that they get the rewards of it here at the end, that we can be healthy for a stretch and feel good about how we're playing for a stretch and be at our best at the end, because, that's ultimately what we're trying to do. We're trying to find our way into the NCAA tournament, whether it be a Conference USA championship or an at-large situation. And, we've put ourselves in a position to do that. And so if we can just continue to keep our head above water, then you hope that in early December, come tournament time, it's the best that we've been all year.
Coach, you talked about the players playing up and down all season long. What do you think, obviously you're not trying to use the young excuse, but what do you think will play a really pivotal role, just getting it into those kids' heads, just like, hey, this is what it looks like to play at a high level consistently at all times?
Yeah, it's a good question, because it's something we just talked about. Our kids, young players, what you have to get young players to understand is that being a consistent player is not being excited to play come game time. Being a consistent player is about preparation. It's about how you practice during the week. It's about how much sleep you get. It's about are you doing rehab and keeping your body in a good place. It's about all the things that you do to prepare for that moment on Friday, Saturday. Where are you getting are you taking the time to really digest your scout, and where are you getting yourself mentally repetitively? It's all of the prep work more than it is what you really walk out there in your mind ready to do on, it's about what are you truly ready to do? What have you prepared to do? And that's one of the things that I'm really, really trying to drive home to them as the season wears on, because all that stuff gets harder, because your body's hurting worse, because your fatigue level is higher, because you're falling further behind in classes, and the road trips get longer, and, injuries and sickness and all those, high-level players, it's a daily grind. It's not a show up on Friday and Saturday ready to play grind. It's a daily grind to get yourself ready, and that's very often what young players don't understand. And certainly the message that we're trying to get them to understand right now is you don't control playing great all the time. What you control is putting yourself in a position to play at a high level as you can, and that involves many, many things that young players don't even realize are a part of it.